Let's get real. Most people are too scared to directly tell you that they dislike you. Instead, they hide behind forced smiles, empty compliments, and feigned politeness. I've experienced this myself, believing someone was a friend only to discover they were secretly wishing for my failure. It's brutal, but here's the reality. If you fail to see the signs, you risk squandering your time and energy on individuals who, deep down, don't truly understand you. So, let's cut through the nonsense and discuss the signs that someone dislikes you while concealing it. You might not enjoy what you learn, but confronting the truth is far better than living in denial. 1. They constantly joke about your flaws. We all know that one person who relishes making jokes, especially when they target you. They'll poke fun at your quirks, mistakes, and minor imperfections, all while grinning and claiming, "I'm just kidding." It seems harmless at first, but let's not kid ourselves. These jokes often go beyond mere playful teasing. They are strategic jabs cleverly disguised as humor, aimed at gradually undermining your self-esteem. I recall a time when I was close to someone who always seemed to have something to say about me. My appearance, my speech, even my projects. Initially, I brushed it off, thinking it was all in good fun. But over time, a pattern emerged. The jokes were always targeted at my perceived weaknesses, never my strengths. It didn't take long for me to start doubting myself, wondering if perhaps these flaws were as prominent as they claimed. Here's where the controversy arises. Individuals who consistently joke about your flaws aren't doing so out of fondness. They're testing the waters to see how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a subtle form of manipulation, a method for them to assert dominance while keeping you in your place. They're essentially telling you that you're beneath them, and the most insidious aspect is that they often get away with it because society has conditioned us to believe that if we can't handle a joke, we're the problem. But let's change that narrative. There's absolutely nothing wrong with standing up for yourself when a joke crosses the line. You deserve to be around individuals who uplift you, not those who seek to belittle you for a cheap laugh. True friends don't need to point out your flaws to feel superior. They celebrate your strengths and help you navigate your weaknesses without making you the butt of the joke. I've witnessed this happen repeatedly. People letting these kinds of jokes slide, thinking it's easier to maintain peace than to stir the pot. But here's the deeper truth. Allowing others to disrespect you, even if it seems trivial, is a dangerous path. It starts with small comments, but over time those jokes can erode your self-worth, leading you to question yourself. The more you tolerate it, the more they'll push, until you find yourself doubting your own value. All because you didn't want to appear too sensitive. I learned this lesson the hard way. I realized that by laughing along, I was granting them permission to continue. I was complicit in my own disrespect. It wasn't until I began to push back and establish boundaries that I noticed a shift, not only in how they treated me, but in how I viewed myself. I stopped allowing their words to define me and began to reclaim my narrative. So here's my advice. The next time someone makes a joke at your expense, don't just brush it off. Ask yourself if it's genuinely funny or if something more sinister is at play. And if the latter is true, don't hesitate to call them out. It might be uncomfortable and it could even end the friendship. But your self-respect is worth far more than someone's misguided sense of humor. Life's too short to surround yourself with people who fail to recognize your worth. If their version of friendship involves constantly highlighting your flaws, it's time to seek out new companions. Those who genuinely care about you will never feel the need to put you down for their own self-esteem boost. Stand tall, speak up, and refuse to let anyone reduce you to a punchline. 2. They deliver compliments that feel like insults. We've all experienced it. Someone gives you a compliment that leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. akin to being slapped with a velvet glove. It's the type of compliment that makes you pause and think, wait, was that a compliment or an insult? Here's the harsh truth. Often, it's a bit of both. These backhanded compliments serve as a sly way for people to undermine you while pretending to be kind. I recall a time when I worked on a significant project I was immensely proud of. After pouring countless hours into it, I shared it with a group of colleagues. One person, whom I believed was supportive, said with a grin, "Wow, this is actually pretty good for someone like you." I was stunned. On the surface, it seemed like praise, but that last part, "for someone like you," hit hard. What did that imply? Was I not expected to produce quality work? Here's where the controversy lies. These so-called compliments are infused with hidden agendas. They're not intended to uplift you. They're crafted to keep you in your place. It's a power play, allowing the person delivering the compliment to assert their superiority while causing you to doubt your own abilities. It's as if they're saying, "I see your efforts, but you'll never be as good as me." It's toxic, cleverly wrapped in a pretty package that makes the poison nearly invisible. Let's be real. Those who offer backhanded compliments often harbor their own insecurities. They see your potential and strengths, which intimidates them. So they resort to these sly digs to keep you second-guessing yourself and ensure you don't rise too high. It's like they're patting you on the back while simultaneously holding you down with the other hand. And here's the more controversial aspect. We've all engaged in this behavior at some point, maybe not intentionally, but we've allowed our insecurities to manifest as a disguised compliment to remind someone else of their place. However, here's the deep message. You don't have to accept this veiled hostility. You have the power to reject it, recognizing it for what it truly is, a reflection of their insecurities, not a measure of your worth. When someone says, "You're smarter than you look," or "This is good considering you're new," you don't have to internalize it. Call it out for what it is, even if it creates discomfort. Because if you don't, you're relinquishing control over how you perceive yourself, something you should never hand over to anyone. I've learned to identify these compliments for what they are: mirrors reflecting someone else's insecurities. When you view it this way, it loses its sting. Instead of internalizing it, you can almost laugh it off, as their words ultimately reveal more about them than they ever will about you. Here's what I do now. When I receive a backhanded compliment, I refuse to let it slide. I respond with something like, "Thanks, but what do you mean by that?" This compels them to confront the insult hidden in their words, and more often than not, it puts them on the spot. They suddenly realize that you're not engaging in their game, and it's astonishing how quickly their attitude shifts. The takeaway? Don't let anyone's masked negativity define you. Whether it's a well-meaning friend, a jealous colleague, or even a family member, remember, your worth isn't up for debate. Compliments should elevate you, not diminish you. If someone's words leave you questioning yourself, it's time to scrutinize their intentions instead. Life is too short to invest in people who can't authentically celebrate your successes. Surround yourself with those who recognize your value and aren't afraid to express it without strings attached. 3. They exclude you from plans without warning. It's the little things that hurt the most, like discovering that your so-called friends forgot to invite you to dinner, a party, or a weekend getaway. They'll insist it was an oversight or that it was last minute. Or worse, they'll assume you were too busy to attend. But let's be honest, these aren't accidents. This is social exclusion in its sneakiest form, and it's a clear indication that you might not be as valued as you think. I've been on the receiving end of this too many times. I remember checking my phone one weekend and seeing photos of friends having a blast at an event I would have loved to join. The kicker? Not a single person mentioned it to me beforehand. When I casually brought it up later, they were quick with excuses. "Oh, we thought you were busy," or "it was such a last-minute plan." But deep down, I knew the truth. If they genuinely wanted me there, they would have ensured I knew about it. Here's where the controversy arises. This type of exclusion isn't mere thoughtlessness. It's intentional. It sends a message without uttering a word. They don't want you there, but they lack the courage to tell you directly. Instead, they hope you'll quietly fade from the group without causing a stir. It's passive-aggressive and cowardly, yet alarmingly common. People seldom discuss this because it's easier to pretend it isn't happening, to accept the excuses and convince yourself it was genuinely a mistake, rather than confront the painful truth of being pushed out. But here's the thing. If you keep accepting these excuses, you're granting them permission to continue excluding you.